Well, for weeks, as you know, the Prime Minister has been evasive when asked whether his election promise on the Stage 3 tax cuts will still go ahead. Well, 2GB today revealed that the Albanese government is going to overhaul those Stage 3 tax cuts and that they're going to be very different to the ones that were taken to the election that have been legislated that Albanese has promised that he would fulfil. Let's bring in our Insiders political panel tonight. Director of Headline Advisory, Andrew Carswell, and Bill Shorten's former Chief of Staff, Director of GXO Strategies, Cameron Milner. Welcome to you both. Look, Cameron, this is clearly a broken promise. There's no question about it.
Look, it's the worst kept secret that Labor wanted to get rid of Stage 3 tax cuts and jam themselves with their small target strategy into accepting them. But the Prime Minister has promised over and over and again that the position wasn't changing. Well, it's clearly going to change. It's clearly going to rip up the promise to the Australian people he was going to keep on tax. And that's going to be a huge credibility issue, a huge integrity issue for the Prime Minister going forward.
Look, Andrew Carswell, not only is this a broken promise, but it's reintroducing class warfare. It means that Middle Australia is going to suffer more from inflation. Bracket creep keeps rising, cost of living pressures too, and they'll be getting less relief by the looks of it.
Yeah, Sharri, this is if this comes about, this will be a betrayal of Middle Australia. The very Middle Australia he made a pitch to, the Prime Minister made a pitch to before this election that this would be his promise. Now, even if the government could effectively explain their way, explain the reasoning and try and win back support in that way, which they've shown no nous at communicating their policies in any effective manner. But even if they could effectively show why this needs to take place, Australians take a very dim view to political leaders and particularly prime ministers that break their promises and break their promises in such an overt way. And what this does is it gives the coalition a vital tool in the lead up to the next election. It's a very simple message that in the midst of a cost of living crisis, Labor put taxes up, because that's effectively what they're doing. This is legislated. They are putting taxes up. So this again shows some weakness here on the behalf of the PM. The people that I speak to in government say that this is not what the Prime Minister himself wants to do, but the left is getting loud. They're getting louder and louder and louder, and we will see a capitulation here from the Prime Minister, because that is the pattern that we've seen all along.
And look, these tax cuts aren't overly generous. They were just meant to be a correction to the bracket creep. Other countries around the world link the tax brackets to inflation, to CPI. We don't do that in Australia, and it's why people really feel that their wages haven't kept pace with the cost of living. But Cameron, the Prime Minister, also said that he's going to call back all of caucus, every MP, at a cost of millions of dollars to Canberra, presumably for this dressed up cost of living announcement. The Australian Jeff Chambers today also reported that Albanese's held more than 50 press conferences just in 1 month. This is the Dunkley by-election looms. Is this going to work for him? Is this going to turn around his fortunes?
Well, this is the guy who's hard at work while the rest of us are having beach holidays and reading summer books. So hopefully everyone noticed his hard time at work. The next 3 days is going to be pantomime. He's going to have the Cabinet tomorrow, caucus and the National Press Club speech on Thursday. And it's all going to be about him telling us about cost of living and cost of living pressures that the rest of us have been living for the last 18 months. While he was off talking about The Voice and travelling the world on Toto 1, we were living the cost of living. So in terms of him talking about an issue close to everyone's hearts, absolutely. Absolutely, it's the right thing for Labor to do. But to do it with a broken promise is a huge risk and a huge roll of the dice. And to your point, I don't think it's just the left. I mean, Treasurer Jim Chalmers has wanted this for a while too. He's been putting it out there in the press as well. So it's the right of the party as well as the left who haven't wanted Stage 3 tax cuts to be honoured. And Albo's now been trapped in that situation because he didn't have the courage to tell the Australian people before the election what he really wanted to do.
Andrew, part of this political strategy that Albo's running is to turn the supermarkets into villains, despite the fact, and I read the Woolworths and Coles annual report last week, their EBIT margin is just a slim 5 and 6%. That is relatively low compared to other industries. And we do live in a capitalist society. So how can the Albanese government try and pin this cost of living crisis on the supermarkets?
Well, Sharri, I love where the narrative has gone on this one. It's changed within a week. When the government first announced that they'd take a little bit of a bat to the supermarkets over cost of living, they did so quite tentatively. They said, they didn't want to give the appearance that it was any socialist hit at corporate Australia. They didn't want the extremes. But in a week, we're already seeing Labor MPs call for the PM to rein in the profits, quote, rein in the profits of the supermarkets. Now, as you said, the supermarkets run fairly leanly, and the other point is that the vast majority of profits that supermarkets make goes directly back into the pockets of Australians through superannuation. So there has been a shifting mood within Labor here. Maybe the true colours are coming out. Gone to the business suits that we saw at the start of this campaign against the supermarkets, and suddenly we're seeing berets and Shea T-shirts.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Cameron Milner, Andrew Carswell. Really appreciate your time.